The punk rock movement. Punkers, what are they? What is their point? Is it possible to distill whatever it is that they're saying to one sentence? Probably not, but it's here, and you've all been certainly passed on the street by a young person, and as Miss Dank has told us, increasingly not so young people who have chosen to dress this way. Yes?
I just think that we should all get along. What's the difference how we look?
You think our reaction to it gives us away a little bit, do you? We're worried too much about it? Is that it?
Yeah.
Worried too much about the wrong thing?
Yes, definitely.
Well, I mean, if you were my daughter, I'd want you to have dress and ribbons, right.
Sometimes.
Every father wants a pink dress and bows on their little girls.
And that's wrong because?
It's not wrong, but, you know, why? Why should,
I'm sorry?
That's your taste.
Which is, what, pretty old-fashioned and outdated, huh?
No, I wouldn't say that. It's just your taste. It's just different.
Right, and my daughter should have the freedom to choose.
That's right.
That's not
I think dresses are great, too.
Honestly, I think the thing is, like, everybody here does not represent everybody. We all, you know, represent ourselves, right? And personally, I don't really care if I offend people or not. I find the society quite a bit more offensive to me. And people who think that things are fine, whether they, you know, with the invasions they do, or all those things, or this obnoxious MTV, people, to me, have to defend that. I don't have to defend myself.
MTV is obnoxious?
I think most of the stuff is pretty trashy. There's a lot of, like, of stuff that degrades women. Most of the music is pretty formula.
That's true. There is an awful lot of...
I'm a musician myself. I play in a band myself, you know, and I think, you know, I do it because I want to appeal to people who are looking for something new, who are disgusted and dissatisfied for whatever reason they are and want something new. And if people, you know, I don't...
Were you always a political, what do I want to... Were you always verbal in school? Were you the guy with his hand up in civics class?
Not all the time. No. Sometimes. I mean, you know, it's...
But school, you survived school. It wasn't a...
I survived it, yeah.
That's about all?
That's about all.
Okay, something I wanted to say is when Miss Dank was talking about how, you know, one of her clients were beaten up by 15 punks, okay, I've been beat up by 15 jocks, I've been beat up by, you know...
A jock is what? A basic American athlete, male?
Okay, you can't classify things like that with punks. She says, you know, she saw, you know, punks in the corner throwing sticks. Haven't you ever seen other people being obnoxious? I mean, punks are people...
You don't want to be held responsible for what someone who has a funny haircut might do to her...
There's going to be a negative element, there's going to be a positive element, there's going to be an element that doesn't, you know, care. You know, that's, you know, life, we're people.
See, you know, one thing, too, is, like... I mean, you're talking about the age of people here. Well, I called up like 40 people. I found out about this at the last minute. I called all these kids who go to these hall shows who are like 11 and 12 and 13 and 14 and in high school, and they don't all look like everybody here looks, you know, or me or anybody else. Some of them just have regular hair, what people out there would consider regular hair, you know, probably because their parents would kill them.
Mrs. Morrissey, how do you feel about what's going on here? You're listening now. You're a woman who's lived this thing. You've already established for us that your daughter, Dareth, 2 years ago, showed up as a punker, and it really, really broke your heart. You've also established that you've been with Serena Dank and joined parents of punkers, so that you've grown a little in the sense that you feel you're understanding your daughter a little more, and apparently we've got a relationship here which is starting to heal. Is that so?
Yes, the stress factor in our life is possibly 85% better than what it was.
Yeah.
I mean, Serena called me a complete basket case when I went to her.
How do you feel about what's transpiring here?
Well, they have a right to their opinion, but it's still very difficult to accept.
Yeah.
How are they, what is their future?
I go to school, I have a job. I go to school, I have a job. I'm responsible, I'm great.
Let me tell you something.
I suspect people who say, "Let me tell you something." That's what they say in Washington. So, all right, watch your righteousness.
Well, anyway, I have a BA in international politics. I got a BA in Paris at Schiller University. I think the future of this is the same as the future of the world. It's only political because we have the freedom to choose. We have certain inalienable rights, and we are human beings, and we're going to do what we want. I have a question for you. I think you're bored. I really do. You have to get an organization together like this.
Why would you? Excuse me. Let's you and I talk. Hang on just a minute.
I'm in parents and punkers.
Why would you? That's an insult to her.
I find it very boring. I think...
But it gives away the point that you're trying to make. You want to live and let live, yet you take
I do want to live and let live, but I don't think
Do you
that
know what I
something
do?
should be
Do you have
stressed.
any idea what I do?
Well, I'll listen to you since I was talking. Go ahead.
Okay, please do. What I do is a lot of times I get the kids off the street and back home. And I bridge the gap between the adult world. Obviously, I don't look punk, but I can relate to Dareth.
Yeah, I
and
went to a
Dareth can relate to
psychiatrist.
me.
No, we can all relate.
That's
The point
right.
of
But
making
what
it so
I do is
organizational
bring
is
the
what
kids.
Could I
ruins
say
it.
something, please?
Parents for punks.
Could I say something?
I do.
Why don't you?
Why doesn't she work for all kids instead of kids with
She
funny
does.
haircuts?
She does.
I do.
She does.
Absolutely.
Could I say something?
I don't understand why there's hostility to it.
Not fair.
Because why don't you let her have at least the benefit of being well motivated in her effort to help people like Mrs. Morrissey understand you? What's wrong with that?
There's nothing wrong with it, but why does she have to classify punks? There's a hell of a lot more kids than just punks that are messed up and need
In
help.
other words, if she can't save the whole world, she shouldn't try to save part of it.
The point is that, like, okay, I've seen you last time on the show too. I've read interviews with you. I'm not entirely ignorant as to what you're about, right? Okay, so you work with Bridging the Gap and all that. On the other hand, you get up here going like, oh God, at these shows, they have violence at these shows. I've brought
They do.
Yeah, but we're not. This society is violent. Okay, there's violence in everything. You know, you go to a heavy metal show, people beat the. You know.
But why be defensive about it? If this, you sound it. If you're not violent, fine. We're happy for you and we're glad. But you can't. It's not fair of you to suggest that we shouldn't be speaking.
About violence. Maybe she should do outreach work with the U.S. Army or something, or the police force. You know.
Mr. Donahue, I'd like to say something.
Sure, go ahead.
We went to a psychiatrist for
Didn't do
4
anything.
months, twice a week. My daughter and I went, and then my husband and I went.
She didn't
Punk
care.
was a costume, and to the psychiatrist. We got no help whatsoever until we found Serena.
What do you mean? You think that the costume was off-putting to the psychiatrist? Is that what you're saying?
That's what she didn't
So
understand.
some
punk.
people get so distracted by this that they.
They're after, she was in her little business suit and getting her whatever, you know,
Her fee.
large sum of money for an hour, and she didn't really care. She didn't care what was happening to us at all, you know, and I wouldn't say that it's a Parents of Punkers organization, you know. There's not really an organization. Serena sees everybody. And if it hadn't been Serena, I wouldn't be here. You know, we found her through that name.
Yeah. How do you feel about your mom?
I love her.
Do you understand her anxiety?
I could see her point of view, and I hope that she could see mine.
Okay. Do you want? You've got to promise you won't laugh at me. Do you look forward to marriage and a bungalow and a flower boxes
And a white picket fence.
and little red wagons in the driveway?
No, I don't. I don't want to be married.
2.5 kids.
You don't want to be married.
No.
We'll be back in just a moment.